All right, let's dive right in. Today we're doing a deep, comprehensive analysis of Surah Al Alaq. And this isn't just any chapter. This is the very first revelation of the Qur'an. We're going to be working our way through a detailed tafsir, or commentary, to break down every single verse. The goal here is to get past just the surface-level meaning and really uncover its incredible structure and the core message that, well, lies at the heart of the entire faith.
So here's our game plan. We're going to move through 6 distinct sections, following the verses just as they were revealed. We'll start with that initial, powerful command to read, and we'll go all the way to the final command to prostrate. You'll see how this structure reveals a powerful, logical argument that just flows through the whole surah.
So, let's begin right where the revelation itself began, with the very first command. Now, our entire analysis is grounded directly in this scholarly commentary. We're going to be following its detailed breakdown to make sure we capture the full, incredible depth of the original text.
Here they are. These are the very first words revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. And right away, the command isn't just to read, but to do so in the name of your Lord who created. From the very first moment, the act of seeking knowledge is inextricably tied to the divine, to the Creator himself.
Now, what's really interesting about this first word, iqra, is just how big it is. The source makes it crystal clear that this isn't simply about literacy. No way. It's a command to recite, to proclaim, to understand the entire universe as a series of signs that all point back to the Creator. It establishes right from the get-go that knowledge is the absolute foundation of this new prophetic mission.
You know, the source material makes a fascinating linguistic point here. The verb used for creation is khalaqa. Now, this is distinct from other words like ansha'a, which might mean to just originate something from nothing. Khalaqa implies a much broader act of creation, of shaping and forming. And notice the structure. First, it's mentioned generally, who created, and then it gets specific, created man. It's like it establishes God as the universal creator, then zooms right in on the specific creation of humanity.
And what was man created from? The Qur'an says, min alaqin, from a clinging substance. The commentary explains this refers to that early embryonic stage, where the ovum clings to the uterine wall. The very first revelation grounds humanity in these humble, fragile, biological beginnings. It's an incredibly powerful built-in reminder against arrogance. The source also gives us some powerful context here. Citing a narration from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, it notes the revelation happened on the 27th of Rajab and connects it to a divine promise, that God would literally extend time itself if he had to, just to ensure a final righteous leader emerges to fill the earth with justice. This immediately links the beginning of Revelation with its ultimate world-changing purpose. All right, let's move to the next set of verses, which present this stunning contrast. After establishing man's lowly physical origin, the surah immediately pivots to his incredible potential for knowledge.
So that command to read is repeated, but this time it's followed by a description of God. And your Lord is Al-Akram, the most generous. And how is this generosity shown? Well, by teaching. Specifically, by teaching with the pen and teaching humanity things it absolutely did not know.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the meaning of Al-Akram. I mean, what could possibly be more generous than taking a creature formed from a clinging substance and then elevating it through the gift of knowledge? The source explains that this is the ultimate act of divine generosity, bridging that huge gap between our humble physical origins and our limitless intellectual and spiritual potential.
The mention of the pen, or al-qalam, is just profoundly significant. The commentary makes it so clear this isn't just about a writing instrument. The pen is a symbol for the entire principle of recorded knowledge, of divine decrees, of scripture, of science, of history. It's the tool that builds civilization and passes wisdom down, preventing it from being lost. So God's generosity is in giving us this incredible mechanism for learning and guidance. But then, the surah takes a really dramatic turn. After describing humanity's potential for greatness through knowledge, it immediately diagnoses the primary spiritual disease that stops us from realizing it: arrogance. An arrogance born from a false sense of self-sufficiency.
That first word, kalla, translated as no, it acts like a sharp rebuke, a total pivot in the conversation. Man transgresses. And why? The verse gives a precise psychological reason: because he sees himself as self-sufficient. This is the root of the problem. And the very next verse gives the cure, the ultimate reality check. Indeed, to your Lord is the return.
The source outlines this as a clear, causal chain. It all starts with a delusion, istighna, this feeling of being self-sufficient, of completely forgetting you came from that alaq. This delusion then leads directly to la yatra, the act of transgression and rebellion. But this whole false idea is shattered by the inescapable truth of aruja, the return. Everything and everyone returns to its source, your Lord.
So now the surah shifts from this general principle to a specific, real-world example, the person who actively tries to stop others from worshiping God.
The commentary actually identifies this figure as Abu Jahl, a contemporary of the Prophet. So the verses that follow are a direct, divine challenge to his actions and the arrogant mindset he represents.
The surah now uses a series of really powerful rhetorical questions, starting with Ara'ayta, have you seen? It forces you, the listener, to just consider the sheer absurdity of the situation. One man, out of pure arrogance, trying to forbid a servant of God from the simple act of prayer.
And the questions keep building the case. What if that servant, the one being forbidden, is actually on the right path? What if he's the one commanding others to piety? The questions just highlight this stark, unavoidable contrast between the two figures. One is on guidance, the other is blocking it.
And now, the camera turns to the denier himself. What's his condition? He denies the truth, and he turns away. These questions build an indictment not just of his actions, but of his entire worldview, which is just based on rejection and arrogance. After cornering the denier with these questions, verse 14 delivers the final, devastating blow. Does he not know that Allah sees? This is the ultimate answer. The denier only acts this way because he has forgotten this fundamental reality. His delusion of self-sufficiency completely shatters under the light of constant divine observation.
Okay, now the surah unleashes some of the most powerful and vivid imagery in the entire Qur'an to describe the consequence of this denial, and it focuses on the very source of the denier's pride and command.
There's that word again, kala. No, it's an emphatic warning. If he doesn't stop, he will be seized and dragged by the nasya, the forelock. And then this forelock is given two powerful attributes. It is lying, and it is sinning.
And here, the commentary explains the profound meaning of the nasya. Why the forelock? Because it signifies the very front of the head, what we now know as the prefrontal cortex, the center for planning, decision-making, and command. It's incredible. The Qur'an is targeting the physical source of the denier's arrogant will. The very part of him that issues the orders is the part that will be seized.
The source explains that these adjectives are not just random. Kadhiba, lying, means its perception of reality is false. It believes itself to be self-sufficient, which is a lie. And katia, sinning or errant, means its actions and decisions are, as a result, misguided and wrong. The forelock itself is personified as the source of the falsehood and the error.
So the confrontation reaches its absolute climax. The transgressor is challenged. Let him call his associates, his counsel, his powerful supporters. But the divine response is swift and completely overwhelming. We will call the Zabaniya, which the source identifies as the powerful angels of punishment. This comparison just brilliantly illustrates the futility of any worldly power against divine might.
And so we arrive at the final verse, the resolution. After diagnosing the disease of arrogance and warning of its consequence, the surah provides the definitive cure.
For the third and final time, we hear kalla, no. This time, it serves as a final dismissal of the denier. Do not obey him. His path is falsehood. Instead, the verse commands two actions that are the direct antidote to arrogance. Prostrate, which is the ultimate act of physical humility, and draw near, which is the ultimate spiritual goal.
And this isn't just a metaphorical command. The source confirms that this is one of the verses in the Qur'an where prostration becomes obligatory when you recite it. The believer is commanded to physically enact the message, to perform the sajda of submission, grounding the entire theological lesson in a concrete physical act of worship.
This leaves us with a final, really profound question that just encapsulates the entire journey of Surah Al Alaq. It begins with iqra, read. It ends with ujjad, prostrate. The message is pretty clear. True knowledge isn't an end in itself. Its ultimate purpose is to lead to humility and closeness to the Creator. So the question for us, then, is how do we make sure our own pursuit of knowledge leads not to arrogance, but to devotion?